Second by Mr. Nolenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. All right, tonight's meeting is being digitally recorded. And Mr. Pomeroy, if you would please lead us in the pledge of allegiance tonight.
Yes. Please rise. Face the flag. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pomeroy. Tonight, there was no actions taken in closed session by the Board of Education. So, due to time constraints tonight, we have no special recognitions or presentations, which is primarily from our students in our different schools. Are there any public comments on agendized or non-agendized items for tonight's meeting? I have no requests here for comments. Okay. We'll move right on to our district updates, business services.
Nothing tonight?
The lady of Cash has nothing for tonight.
I'm on the agenda about 8 times, so I figured I would just save your
So
ears.
you're deferring, is that
Yes,
what-
sir.
Okay. Educational services.
Yes, good evening. Just a couple of things. We're excited about the start of a new and great and wonderful school year here in the district. I did want to share that we are working with our STEAM groups at the different schools, getting ready for our robotics and other competition groups that will be coming up. So we're excited to lend them some support. I also wanted to mention a great opportunity that has come our way for CTE. Sarah Bielma and I had the opportunity to meet with our PCC partners recently so that we can join the AMTEL Consortium, and that stands for Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering Technology Linked to Learning Consortium. But essentially, the state of California has granted Long Beach Community College a substantial grant to work with some of the other community colleges in the area, including PCC. On engineering pathways, and because we have that dually enrolled program with Dave Dickey, we have the opportunity to work with them and to capture about $150,000 worth of funds to help support our program. And so we will be able to report more to you after Sarah has attended meetings in the end of September, so we'll give you more progress on that, but that's an exciting piece of news as we continue our progress with that program. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
I'm always thankful we don't have to have a test on acronyms and programs.
I know.
Alrighty, let's see. Personnel services, Dr. Kuhn.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Moving on to our bargaining units, TCEA, Ms. Lynn. CSEA 105. CSEA 823. Okay. Moving on to item 14, which will be our student board member comments.
All right. So with the school year commencing, we've had a lot of firsts as the school year has progressed. So ASBs had their first spirit week and their first fall rally assembly.
Students will be attending.
Thank you. Mr. Nolenberg.
Yes, like love, I think all the board members attended the back to school day breakfast that was held for all the teachers, including the new ones, and that was a good day. Also, I went back to go back to school at Longden. I visited the school campus just for a short period and sit in one of the rooms where they give a presentation of what they're going to do with the students and that, and got some literature. Very interesting presentations by the teachers to the parents. And I think it's probably one of the few times that the parents are on campus along with without the student being there. And also there was a Temple City School Foundation meeting that I attended, and they had some discussions. One of them was on the AR program, and the question that the school foundation, which is subsidizing part of that, is what is the goal of AR? So So is it for people to read a lot of books, or is it to learn how to read, enjoy reading? It makes a difference. There's some other programs out there that can maybe accomplish the same goal, and they're a lot cheaper, they think. I don't know, but until someone establishes the actual goal of AR for them, it's hard to compare that product with other products until you know what you want the product to do. And that may be across the board for other things too. Also, the summer school was very successful for them, and they have probably got an extra $30,000 to be able to help the school system with. So they got at least $150,000, which they will be distributing throughout the years in forms of either grants under $500 or grants above $500. And there's a couple of presentations on items that are above $500. They have to go to the board, which only meets every 2 months. So, and there's now applications out there for the grants that are online to be filled out for anyone who wants to. And that's about it. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Mr. Bell?
All right, good evening, everyone. I just want to welcome everyone back, and I will echo my fellow board member's statement regarding the back-to-school breakfast that we had for our staff, and I would like to give a big thanks to everyone, the organizing teams that were involved in this. I know there are multiple individuals, so I don't know everyone that was involved, but I know a lot, and it went out really well. So that was greatly appreciated. As far as I know, even though I was not able to attend every single back-to-school night, and based on the feedback that I got from various folks, everything was outstanding, as it always is, and I'm really proud of what we do here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer?
Thank you. And to our student board member, isn't it true that today was the late start day?
Yes.
At school, so you were up at 5:30.
Yeah.
And your classes didn't start until much later?
9, yes.
9. You don't normally get up earlier on the late day, you get up later on the late day. All right, that's dedication, okay. Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody back, and I went to several back-to-school events, not all of them. I was not able to make it to the back-to-school breakfast, I regret that. But I'm glad this school year's gotten off to a good start. It's fun for me to meet our current, but also our new teachers and staff and our new administrators, and we have a new principal here tonight, so it's fun getting to know them. Let's see. My schedule is a little different now. My 9th grader, I have a 9th grader, and she decided that her dream was to study theater, and so she is now enrolled at the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts studying theater. So my 11th grader is at Temple City High School having a great time, and I'm going to keep working on my 9th grader about all the great things that we brought to the school, which is around the corner from my house, by the way. But while obviously, as a family, we're supporting our child and wanting the best for her, but also I'm trying to use this as an opportunity to see what another school does and how they integrate the arts into academics or don't integrate the arts into academics. And since that's something we've been talking about, I hope that it will bring some benefit to my perspective that I bring here. Finally, I just wanted to welcome our folks from Azusa Pacific. Really look forward to hearing more about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I still can't believe that we're in September. School started. It seems like we just got through graduation. It's been literally a whirlwind summer. The back-to-school breakfast was phenomenal, as it always is. It's nice to see the district getting together as a family and laughing together and planning together and being excited together. The back-to-school lunch, which was the following day, I was not able to attend. I had to go up to Oregon for family business, but I could smell the tri-tip as I crossed the Siskiyous. It was very good, I can tell you. So congratulations to all of our athletes in fall sports. Everyone's looking good, everyone's working hard, and all the classrooms are settling down. All the new school buildings are settling down, the dust is settling, and everything is hunky-dory as far as I'm concerned. And I appreciate all the work that the administration is doing along with the board to facilitate that. And our grounds, the maintenance crew, it's just phenomenal what you all are able to accomplish. And I'm just so thankful that you're so proactive in your work and wanting to make sure that everything is not only beautiful, but it's actually safe. And the kids appreciate, the families appreciate, they're always commenting on how the facilities look and the grounds. And I always say it's Tony. So thank you, I really appreciate it. So I think that'll be all for me. Ms. Preen?
Thank you, President Morrison. Just one other celebratory note. We were notified by the Temple City Chamber that Temple City High School is going to be recognized as an outstanding contributor to the community and will be honored on October 18th, but it's really a district distinction, as the award is a result of the beautiful, as the letter that I received said, the beautiful addition to Temple City High School. So I will be attending with Dr. Lashir the event on October 18th. So I know you'll be in good hands. We're excited about that, and I'll be reporting more as we receive more information. So congratulations to everybody.
Congratulations. Okay, I have two written communications here. One of them is from the Los Angeles County Office of Education. They have, under Education Code Section 52070D, Los Angeles County Superintendent of Schools has completed the review of the Temple City Unified School District's local control accountability plan for fiscal year 2017-18. And this letter serves as your district's notification of approval for our County. So, the written communications here for everyone to peruse. I also received an email that was actually sent to one of our city council members from what appears to be one of our students, urging the dear elected officials to please look into the type of pesticides that are used on school campuses, and to look into more organic methods and organic food for lunches. So this is by Alina Jurgensen of Temple City. And Alina, your request has been turned into a superintendent. I love doing that.
And I will turn it into Ms. Sorrell. And you can turn it to Tony.
All right, so we will move on to our discussion information item portion of our tonight's agenda. Item 18, which is an update on our deferred maintenance projects. Our one and only, Mr. Alana and Mr. Rao.
Good evening. So what we'd like to do tonight is review our deferred maintenance projects that have been completed in the last year throughout the district. And as you will recall, these funds are allocated from the general fund and they are not part of bond funds. So every project that we look at will be not bond funds, they'll be deferred maintenance funds. And as we meet together in cabinet and with facility services and we review all the projects that we would like to accomplish and compare that to the budget that we have available, some of our focuses are, of course, the budget available, student and staff safety, support of student learning, maintenance of district assets such as roofs to keep all of our investments safe. And each site is also asked to prioritize any projects that they would like to have done on their site. And then we look at those as a group and determine which we can do. So I will turn it over to Tony. This first slide tells you what we spent on some of the higher dollar projects. And then we're going to go through pictures of each of those. And at the very end, we have some other projects that were also accomplished so you can get an overall view of what has happened.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes, sir?
This wish list you just brought up, what time of this year do you normally get that?
So we asked them, it was like February, and that was for next year's projects.
Okay, so last February you were getting wish list for what you're starting to do now?
Yes. And we did some of them during the summer, Sometimes you can get a lot more done in the summer when students aren't around,
Right.
so we do some of them during the summer.
And this is being funded out of our general fund.
Yes, you'll recall that we're required to put 3% of our general fund aside for deferred maintenance, it's a state requirement. Okay,
This is 701 at the high school. It was a combination of 3 classrooms. We ended up tearing out all the internal walls, and then we repainted the entire room. We put a dance floor in there. It was around 2,500 square feet. It was laid out by 2 of our employees. The one west wall, we ended up putting mirrors all the way across, and then we're still, any day now, we should be getting a balance bar or stretch bar that's going to be going across the north wall. In the 2 offices, well, there was one office and now it's like a locker room. We recarpeted, put lockers in, and the other is a storage room, got new carpet and cabinets. And then we put some new lighting in there, new drinking fountain for them, and so that's their dance studio now.
Was there something special about the floor so that they don't have impact on their legs?
Yes, yes, it's called a sprung floor. So each individual piece has strips of rubber that are like dovetailed into the wood. So it's, if you walk on it, you actually feel the give, so.
So when they practice dancing and they leap in the air, et cetera, it minimizes the impact on their legs, on their knees and
Yes.
hip joints.
Yeah, we actually bought it from a dance studio. It was, that's all they sell is dance floors. This is what the teacher over there, what her wish was, is to get this type of floor, so we accommodated that.
And you're able to do all this in-house?
Yes. The only thing we didn't do was the mirrors. We had a glass company come out and hang them, but we had to fur out the wall to accommodate for, you know, because it had concrete beams going around, so we made it all flesh out, so they're all level across.
And we didn't have to contract that out?
We did all that in-house.
Good for you.
And room 701 was used for what, no?
It was an art class, and then there was storage in the back side of it where some other walls were.
So the art classes moved to another room?
Yes, which
So
is
we
going to be
didn't
on the
lose-
next screen.
We didn't lose the classroom.
No. This is the class that was in there. This is in 704 now. In this room, we pulled out all of the cabinetry in there, had lower cabinets, upper cabinets, all the way around the room. We ripped all that out, painted the whole classroom, took the floor out, had it abated in there, and then we put all new flooring in, and then arranged the whiteboards where she would like them. We added some shelving in the back room for her storage area, and then those butcher block tables she has, we refinished those. We sanded them down and revarnished them. This is 511 and 512. This used to be 3 classrooms. One of them was very small, so it was opened back up to 2 like it was originally. And these classrooms were, they ended up they were torn down to the studs, so they had new drywall put up, new carpeting, and new ceiling tiles. So they had internal walls that were separating the classes taken out. And this was contracted out. This was not my guys doing this job, so. I call this area the courtyard. It's between the office and the media center at the high school. All the block work, concrete, everything should be done tomorrow. Trees are going to start going in tomorrow. And then after that, we'll finish our irrigation and plants. We have some uplighting going on the trees. So this one should be a nice little focus area. The kids can use those walls to sit on. They're low enough. It's got bullnose brick on there, so there's not going to be any chance of getting, scratched on those bricks. So it should be a nice little area for them to gather in.
Is, the walls of the, I guess the bricks in that, have they been coated so that if someone does spray something on, not the kid, but somebody else comes on campus and sprays something, it's easy to get off?
No, we have not done anything. This is still in the process, like they were still laying brick down, brick ribbons in the ground today.
What are we gonna treat the bricks then?
It's something we can look into, yes. It has not even been thought about yet, but yes, now that you've brought it to our attention, yes, we can.
Because I mean, if somebody does something graffiti way, I mean, it's almost impossible to get it off, if it isn't sealed
Right.
properly. So that it minimizes the work.
Absolutely.
Unless you want to paint them all the time.
No, that'll take away from the look. This here is a picture, kind of wide, but it's the blacktop at Emperor. So the whole playground was ripped up and new blacktop surface was put down. At that school, there was also the front drive and the parking lot that received a new slurry. The lines out there, the whole thing will get coated with slurry again in like a few weeks to a month, and then the new lines will be put down, and then that'll be it. So they have to wait for it to cure for a while before they put the new coating on top of it again.
And the slurry is just
It's like a sealer.
on top of the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it fills in the cracks if there's any.
Right. It's more just to seal it up, because, since they can't do it when they first do the asphalt, they have to let it sit for a while. So we are started rekeying our sites. Last year, well, it actually finished off earlier this year, was at Cloverly, and then we've done Emperor and La Rosa over the summer. This is to help out with coming in compliance with AB 211 and also ADA laws. So we're putting the picture as showing the classroom so they can see like the visual if the doors are locked from the outside or unlocked, and so in case there is a lockdown. Each classroom has an individual key, but if a teacher gets caught out in another classroom, in the wrong classroom, they can still lock those doors with their keys they're all keyed the same on the inside. So the picture on the right is like the cafeteria. There's a very odd sized doors, so to become ADA compliant, we had to go with a 3-foot door on one side and a 2-foot on the other side, since it's a 5-foot opening. So that's to go along with compliancy for ADA laws. So
So both doors open, side.
both doors, one door will open as a primary, and then the other one can be opened.
And there's no pillar in the middle.
No pillar.
Now, for the locks and that, did we buy the locks and then custodians at the sites put the locks on, or did you do all the work?
No, it's on the bigger jobs, like the ones that were just shown there, Emperor and La Rosa. It was contracted out. We bought everything, and then we had an installer come in, because it's not just putting the cores in, it's changing a lot of the hardware, the handles, the panic bars, the closures. So it's more of a manpower issue when you get into that many rooms. So at Longden, we just had new wood chips blown in the kindergarten area, and then I just received the rest of my playground parts. We have 2 of the playground structures, one out on the baseball field and one in the kindergarten area, that we're going to be replacing the decking, the steps. We basically went through every piece of those pieces of equipment and found the ones that were rotted with the plastic coatings coming off and sharp edges and stuff. So that's all getting rehab, so it should be back in new condition here pretty soon. This is also at Longden, classrooms 311 and 312. We replaced siding as needed around the building, a lot of rotted siding, and then the whole building was painted. This is another new system we're going through. This is district-wide. This is our new irrigation controllers. They have the capacity to run off a cloud-based system. So once they're in, if the weather in the area is calling for rain, then our sprinklers automatically will not come on. If we want to test anything, we can do it over our phones. If something comes on that we don't, we can shut it off at any time through our phones now. And so this will also, it has the capabilities. We're going to be putting flow sensors on our main valves. So if we have a broken head, it will send us an alert and it will say you're using more water than usual, and it will actually pinpoint what station it's coming from. So it's hopefully, with all the drought issues and everything else, and just, just for, we'll be able to monitor how much water we're putting out there, so.
So we'll have a monthly report, status report on
I'll give it to Mary Ann.
capability of having some quarterly or monthly or yearly status of
The
water?
company that we are working with on that, they've asked for access to our water bills to see them so they can review and see what our savings are. So it's something that we could probably go through with them later on and, see what our savings are on that. So.
One thing to keep in mind is it will be a big value to the sites. If there's something that's not watering properly, we'll be alerted very quickly rather than someone calling and saying, oh, by the way, I saw this. We're going to know ahead of time, but we can dispatch people much more quickly.
So with this, you also see when there's like a broken head and
Yes.
shooting water 20 feet in the air.
It will even shut down if it senses like every day it's using this many gallons, and then all of a sudden it spikes. It will shut that system off that night, and then it will send us a report saying, hey, this system, and that's the way I have to go over there and manually turn it on, and we'll find it right now. So.
And these, like the one that they have the picture of, or you had the picture of, that's at what school?
This is at the high school. This is the first one that was put in.
Where is it located? In high school?
That is right on the north side of the media center. But there will be several of these at the high school. There'll be several of these at the high school because of,
The waves divided up?
yeah, that's one controller, so that will take so many stations. So that's basically the whole front of the school. So as we go to the back of the school, it has a transmitter that will signal to the other site, to the other controllers. So. Just took a picture of the Learning Center. Again, that we're rekeying that school also. Everything's on order. So I don't anticipate any problems. Probably be done early October there. So same setup though as the other sites. It's just some of the other jobs we've done over the last year. We just put in new split system AC at the high school. Memley Hall got a new AC in it's Natasha's office now and the foyer. They just got new AC. The lockers got painted at Oak. New hydration stations, which is the bottle fills. We put a few in at Oak and a few in at the high school. Band carts, fabricated some of that. Speed bumps. We ripped out the old snack bar building at Oak. So that's just concrete there now. Just got done painting all the numbers at the high school. So they have assigned parking spots now. And yeah, landscaped the front of our shop, landscaped the front of the band at the high school, and we installed fans at the high school and Oak in the gyms. And we are, tonight, actually, one got installed in the wood shop at the high school, and probably within the next 2 weeks, the other one will be installed inside the weight room. So.
A general question,
Yes, sir.
for the deferred maintenance portion, I think hopefully we put more money into deferred maintenance the last year or two to help cover some, but these won't be recurring costs. So is the deferred maintenance budget going to go down?
So the state requires that we set aside 3% each year, so that budget, will be there. We have quite a list of things that need to be done across all the districts, all the sites, and we have a 5-year deferred maintenance plan with everything prioritized. We have more
We
than,
don't have a plan in place?
yes, we'll bring that back to you shortly. We have more to do than we can afford to do. So it's constantly a balance between what's the highest priority for safety of students, staff, and assets, and what amount of money we have available.
You see, the old plan, which I read through, had a, kind of like an inspection of each site and a check-off list. Is that something that's still being done?
Yes, that's done yearly, the FIT report.
I don't know what that.
The FIT report's done yearly, and it focuses on the classrooms. But myself and my supervisor, we walk the sites once a year, and we'll go through and try to identify stuff, along with asking the principals to identify what their needs are. But we try to identify things before they become issues. So.
On page 1, you had with the district-wide irrigation control system.
Yes.
Rebates.
The cost of the controllers was $60,000. We'll probably end up getting about $25,000 back with the rebates that comes from the water company. So,
And we have, what, 3 water companies?
yes, and it's,
Well, there's
yeah,
5 in the city, but
We have 5 that affect our sites.
I thought we only had 3 to service our school sites.
I wish.
the person that we bought the system from is, very active in working with the water companies to get us our maximum rebates. So he's helping us doing the paperwork and all that with it. So yeah, it should be, that was part of the selling feature of it, was the rebate portion. So
Do we have now meters at every school for water?
Yes.
And so we get a bill for each school separate in the state?
There are multiple meters at each site for water.
But you can tell, well, when I look at the reports that show the water usage, the biggest one is the high school, I assume. So, but the rest of them, I'm hard pressed to be able to tell what school it's from.
I'm sorry, when you're looking at what, sir?
When I'm looking at the reports that where we have, I guess, what is the warrants and the checks that we send out.
Oh, right.
And you put down utilities, but, and the water company or something, but you don't say what the water company is per se. And you don't say what school it is, but if you look at the dollar numbers, you can look at, and you can see which one's the high school, because it's usually the highest cost. But the rest of them you can't, I can't tell you for sure it's La Rosa versus Cloverleigh versus Longdon or something.
So I'd be happy to review that with you anytime. If you look at the account string, the last 7 digits are the site code.
Okay.
So that'll tell you which location it's for. I'd be happy to go through that with you at any time. Do we have any other questions about this? Thank you very much.
thank you.
Just Tony, I love your digs, because I don't think I've ever seen you outside of jeans and the blue Temple City Unified School District shirt.
That's
So-
what I'm required to wear.
Looking good, sir. All righty, so we'll move on now to item 19, which is an update on our bond projects. Mr. Rodriguez, and again, Mr. Thomas.
Good evening. Had a lot of activity over the last, or actually this year, so we'll go over everything that we are doing and have done. First project, Longden Elementary. Just to recap, this is a modernization of the two-story classroom building. And modernization of kindergarten buildings and all of the related site work. So the project was bid earlier this year, was awarded in March. The first 8 classrooms have been completed and occupied. The media center will be ready to occupy at the end of this month. Administration area will be ready to occupy in December of this year. And all the second floor classrooms will be completed by the fall of next year. And the kindergarten classrooms will also be completed around October of 2018. Here are some pictures, some before and afters. The one on the left is before, the one on the right is after. You can see we painted, all of the windows have been replaced. A lot of the windows had like a plexiglass and they had, a solid surface covering them. So all of the windows are now, you can now see out, and there's a lot of light that's coming in. Each classroom had 2 doors, which it's not necessary for the size of the room. So we replaced 1 door with windows. So there is a lot of light coming into all of the spaces now.
What type of glass is being used for these windows?
It's a low E dual glaze. It has the insulating gas in between.
Right, but as far as breakage, how easy is it to break these windows?
It's not like regular. It's not like regular glass. It's not going to shatter and just.
Is it like a safety glass?
It's like a safety glass, exactly.
But if someone were to try and break through this glass,
It's
how
going
long
to
will
take
it
some
take
effort
them? Oh, okay.
because it's two layers of glass.
Yeah.
So a kid couldn't pick up a chair and
No.
throw it at the window?
It may break the inside layer, but it wouldn't break both of them.
But someone trying to get from the outside in, it'll take them a while.
Yes. And
Is
these
that-
are.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let me interrupt. Is that the same as what's gone into for all the new
All
glass?
of the new modernized rooms have all the same glass. So this is a picture of the inside. The top picture shows the ceiling. You can see when you enter in the classroom, the ceiling's a little bit lower and then it goes higher as you walk in. That's for the air handling units for each classroom. They have their own individual units. They also had a partition, like a sliding partition in between every classroom. And none of the interior walls went all the way up to the roof structure. All the walls ended at the ceiling, so there was a lot of sound transfer in between every classroom. So that was, there was a lot of complaints about the noise. So the bottom picture shows all brand new walls. All the walls go up to the bottom of the roof structure. So there won't be any noise transfer, and there's also insulation in between every classroom.
Daniel, if I may add one other piece, the other priority that we had is a number of the rooms have a center space, and so we've created an opportunity for that to be usable space with a monitor in there as well for small group collaboration, small makerspace labs, so it gives a lot more flexibility to the center design of those rooms.
So yeah, each four classroom pods share one center space, so you can go from room to room through that center space.
And Longden, how many of the rooms did you finish?
8. They also got new casework at the rear of the classroom versus in the old rooms, it was in the front. So they got a whole wall full of cabinetry, uppers and lowers. Any questions on Longden? Next, we have Temple City High School. This was the construction of 3 buildings that were connected by a walkway and a total of 32 classrooms. Staff began moving into the rooms shortly after school ended in June, and then they kind of came back after they had their summer to kind of complete their classrooms. So right now, we're just working on punch list items, corrections, things like that, but for the most part, the project is complete. It did come out really great. Jerry Jambazian actually took some of these pictures. These are some of the interiors. The sites were involved in picking the furniture and, of course, the layout of their rooms, whether it was going to be a combo, which is like a collaborative type furniture, or single desks. They're all outfitted with 5 monitors. One of them is an interactive touchscreen monitor. The next slide just shows some exterior shots. They all have an exterior courtyard area where they can, pull out for instruction outside. 2 elevators. We do have hydration stations also. And let me see. I think that's about it.
One of the pieces to mention, all the furniture is mobile, so that those, and the desktops are whiteboards. So staff and students can also roll furniture into the outer spaces to create learning courts and utilize the whiteboards. The nice things about the whiteboards is students could work on a collaborative project, flip the board up because they're nesting as well, and pull the board out and almost use it like a standing whiteboard as well.
And all the tables are nesting too for storage. I mean, you can store 30 tables, in this space about this wide, versus putting them all in one corner and you're taking up half the room. Any questions?
I have a question. I know it varied in the other classrooms, but as far as amount of storage space for teachers in the classrooms, how does it compare to, say, the average of what we had in the classrooms?
That's kind of hard to compare because the rooms they were in, there was 21 classrooms, and they were all different, and they were kind of all different sizes, and they had a lot of stuff that they had brought. So we included one whole bay of cabinetry along the walls, the entry wall below the windows.
Which I guess you can't quite see it.
Top left, you can see a little.
Oh, okay.
A
So it
little
goes
bit.
along the way. And then, and sinks, there are more sinks than we used to have.
4 classrooms have sinks.
Yes. Well, I mean, having been in the classrooms a couple of times and back to school night and talking to some of the staff, it's fun to see their excitement with the new possibilities with technology. I really want to thank our administrators for taking the lead on that. And actually, Mr. Bell, who ever since we've been on the board here has been talking about modern classrooms. Now, there are walls. It's not quite a classroom without walls, but seriously, you had really influenced, I think, going forward with that. And so it's fun for me to see our students utilizing these spaces.
Will these monitors and the touchscreens be put into the classrooms that were not rebuilt from remodeled in the old buildings?
Getting out of the school sites.
The Queen of Cash looks at me, it's all about her and money. That's our goal. We'd like to have every student have equal opportunity in the classroom settings. A lot will be determined, Ms. Searle's gonna talk just a little bit about the potential bond dollars, and our hope is, should we receive bond dollars, then some of the money that was spent through, I'm talking state bonds, through state funding, would give us a lot more flexibility to do some other pieces. But that's definitely on the list of items that we discussed going forward. And the nice thing too is the technology continues to become much more available and at a cost a point that is much more affordable than when the project was designed 5 years ago.
So next we have Phase 1B of Temple City High School, which is the pool replacement, modernization of the locker rooms and locker buildings, and the sports fields. We're going to demolish the existing pool. We're going to construct a 33-meter by 25-yard pool, modernize the locker and team rooms, and reconstruct the sports fields.
When will that happen?
Actually, we have just finalized our schedule, and we will be advertising the project starting next week. So we'll be advertising to bid for 2 weeks, and it will bid on October 18th. And we'll bring it for board approval the first of November.
We've had a lot of questions about this pool, whether it's CIF regulation size as far as the outer dimensions and the depth, and we just want to assure everyone that it is.
So, like I said, plans have been approved by DSA. That's why we are able to bid it now. We did literally just finish the bidding schedule and are writing the advertisement to send that out tomorrow. All of the interim housing portables have been removed from the site. We started doing that right after summer school ended. We had to disconnect all of the restrooms, all of the electrical, the fire alarm, all the communication lines, everything had to be disconnected. We had to take out all of the asphalt that was around each building so we can actually get under it and take it out. So all that has been done. So the lease of all those buildings stopped. So we no longer have to pay a lease on all those buildings. So I think we've seen these pictures before. This just shows the front of the aquatic center, which is the north side of the staff parking lot. Here's an aerial shot, again, north side of the staff parking lot. You have a new ramp and a new entry stairs into the pool deck, as well as the locker rooms.
Excuse me, when we discussed these plans like a year ago, there was a comment about the curve that's like at the bottom of the picture, right in the middle of the bottom of the picture.
Yes.
The band uses that area to back the trailers up. Is that going to be squared off, or is it still rounded?
It's going to be, there will be a, like a modified drive to go up, because I
Okay.
think that's what was requested.
Okay.
You just don't want to drive over a curb, correct?
Well, we just want to make sure that they can back up. They
Yeah,
they
yes,
can load
you
there
will be.
still. 3 trailers.
Yes. Any other, we will be beginning, of course, the demo of the pool and the construction of the baseball field first. So we want to get the baseball field planted as soon as possible so they can use it.
Baseball field to the left of the pool.
No, the baseball field that's at the north of the site where the interim housing portables were, we're going to replace that field.
So the one that is the women's softball, I don't know, is that what it is to the?
That is going to be towards the end of the project, because since the site is so tight, we don't have anywhere to stage material or equipment, we don't have anything. So we're going to be using that field for that, since we'll be close, we won't be affecting the site as much.
And keeping in mind with Title IX, that will ensure that the baseball field isn't really a baseball field, it's a multi-use sports field, so that it will accommodate both male and female athletes.
Any other questions?
Where will girls softball be for this season?
The new field, the new sports field.
On the north where the portables were?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we're using the Rosemead pool for some of our activities.
We have a contract with them, and we actually had set it for this summer, but with the delay with DSA, we were able to continue using the pool, but we do have an arrangement with them to be able to use it for swimming and water polo. We've also arranged busing for our students to get them back and forth.
Next, we have Cloverly Elementary School, Phase 2. As you'll recall, we weren't, during the first bond issue, we were not able to do the entire school. So now that we have Series B money, we are going back in and we're going to modernize the administration building and also replace all of the windows and HVAC in the cafeterias. So the administration is going to get a whole brand new layout. It's going to be a little better use of space. All the windows are going to be replaced, doors, ceilings, light fixtures, flooring, painting. So basically, we're going to get the whole building started.
Where are they gonna be housing or getting anything?
They have space on site to move to. They have a room in front of the cafeteria. They have a room at the end of building A. I forget the room number, but we've already been in discussion with the site, so we don't have to spend money on interim housing for that. They'll be able to shuffle some things around for the meantime.
All the sites have been very cooperative to use as much space as we can so we aren't having to lease or rent portables. And it saves us quite a bit of money that we plow back into the bond projects.
So the architect is still working on the plans. We're hoping to submit to DSA next month. So everything's being finalized now. And we're hoping we can get the plans back from DSA next summer and start next fall. Next, we have La Rosa, Phase 2. Again, during the first phase, we were not able to complete all of the spaces. So we are modernizing the remaining 7 classrooms and the administration. So they will also get new windows, doors and frames, ceilings, lights, flooring, and interior painting. Again, we're going to gut the administration portion of the building, and it's going to have a brand new layout. There's going to be a forced entry from the public side into the office. So everybody will have to come into the office in order to go into the site. So the gates are going to be reconfigured so that everybody will know where the point of entrance will be. Again, this is on the same track as Cloverly. We're going to be submitting to DSA next month, and we hope it'll come out in next summer and start construction next fall.
How long will it take to do?
This one will take longer than Cloverly. This one will probably be around 18 months. And Cloverly will probably be just under a year. Any questions? So next we have Oak Avenue. Tonight's agenda also includes the approval of architectural services agreement for the project. As you recall, in 2015, we rescoped every single project in the district just to provide a little bit of equity amongst bond projects for every school, because Oak did not have a project. So there was some dollars that were allocated to Oak. Now that there's a possibility of state funding, we do need to have plans into the state and into CDE in order to capture those dollars. So we've come up with some scope items, and part of that is the demolition of Building C, and it'll be replaced with a 2-story classroom building, and demolition of Building D, which will allow to open up the whole space and create a large quad area. The whole entire campus would get a whole fire alarm upgrade, as well as utilities. We've been kind of working on it for a while, and we toured a whole bunch of different schools, different buildings. We've talked to the site to see what their desires were for that also. So it's been a work in progress. Now that we're a little bit closer to seeing some additional money, it's time to get something going with the plans.
The new 2-story, it's prefab, is that similar to the one, the 2-story that's already on campus?
It's gonna be a lot better quality than that, but it's kind of the same idea, but it won't look so modular.
25-year life, 30-year life, 20-year life?
Probably 25 to 30, depending, the way, a lot of it depends on the maintenance too.
So I'd just like to remind everyone that this is all based on getting state bond money. You probably noticed that some of the bonds were sold yesterday at the state, so there will be money available at this time. We don't know how much will actually come to our district. We're very hopeful, but we do have to do this project. We have to have plans ready, so if funds are given to our district, we're ready to go. But this type of project is on the premise that we would get state funding. If we don't, we'll come back with a variation of this plan within the bond dollars that we have left.
The 16 classrooms, is that replacing both C and D
Yes.
buildings?
Yes.
There's no more additional ones?
There'll be 16 classrooms, a couple of workrooms and restrooms, elevators.
That's what we presently have now?
Yes.
Also, both La Rosa and Cloverly, where we're changing the configuration of the office space now. It's not the same as was in the booklet that we turned out, 4 or 5 years ago when we did the bond.
No, it's a plan that
Do
we
we
just
have to
reviewed.
amend anything? Do we have to amend any of the site, plans or anything?
No. We're not increasing any square footage or the footprint of any building. So it's just interior layouts. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I just want to thank you guys for, I'm not going to go off this list. We've come such a tremendous way in just the last 2 to 3 years alone. It's astounding how much our facilities have improved, and enormous amount of time spent planning, adjusting, you name it. And the word speaks for itself. We're seeing the fruition of this. I remember being a member of that campaign team to get an address approved for the city on behalf of the schools. So it's amazing to see. Again, can't thank you guys enough. But I think the most important thing is you inspire the kids. And when they see these things, they are ecstatic and thrilled. And I'll tell you, my 8th grader, her favorite thing is a hydration station. She just can't stop talking about that. It's like a very popular spot on the old campus, so apparently. And I thought you guys should know that. Thank you.
So it replaces the water cooler now, huh?
They all get it.
All right, so we will move on now to our discussion action section of our agenda. Our first item is item 20, which is to approve a memorandum of understanding between Azusa Pacific University and Temple City Unified School Districts. Ms. Breen, would you be so kind to introduce our guests?
It's my pleasure, I'm going to ask Sarah Yama to come forward. We're so pleased to have our guests here from APU, and this is a result of I had noticed that there were a number of school districts engaging in partnerships with APU, and so I made the call, why not Temple City? And that's how the partnership began, and so our relationship has fostered. Sarah's already been in a number of conversations, and so I'm going to ask you to come up and share what each of your involvements are with the university, and we appreciate you being here.
Well, first of all, Superintendent Freeney, thank you for being forward-thinking on this. President Marson and board members, thank you for this conversation, because here's the discussion in the state of California. How does K-12 and universities and colleges partner for the success of our students, right? Affordability and accessibility is really the pathway We are thrilled to be connected now with this incredible school district. Your reputation is well known, and we're glad to have this memorandum of understanding, which provides this. Working with your high school graduates, those who meet the qualifications are admitted to Azusa Pacific University with a $10,000 scholarship. You stack that on top of a Cal grant and on any other academic aid that comes with that, you're getting pretty close to a 70%, covering about 70% of the cost of attendance. So we're excited about that partnership, and we have a couple documents to sign. Before we do, let me introduce my team. Angelica Juarez is our Community Relations Manager. Rachel White is the Associate Director of Public Relations, and Joe Vinatieri is Associate Director of Undergrad Admissions, and they came with me this evening, and we're glad to be here. You want to sign something with me?
The board will have to do their part, and then I'm happy to sign
All right.
on the dotted line.
Well, I'll leave these with you then.
Thank you. Please stay and share, as the board has any questions or discussion that they would like to have as well.
We'll do our legalities here to open up the discussion. I will move to approve the memorandum of understanding between Azusa Pacific University and Temple City Unified School District.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Gould. So we may.
Okay, so what I'd like to do, I'm just very happy to also be bringing forth the memorandum of understanding between Azusa Pacific and Temple City to formalize that partnership together. First, I'd just like to thank everyone who's been involved with the process, from the initial contact and then to everybody that we've worked with at Azusa Pacific. Has just really been a pleasure to speak with and work with. And then our high school partnership as well, and our high school principal is here as well tonight, so thank you for that. I'd like to just highlight a few key points that are in the MOU and then go over the next steps. First, number one is that we as a district are committed to a rigorous program of study and supports for all students in preparing students for college entrance and meeting the requirements of admission to APU. So there are several benchmarks that we will keep in mind and work towards all of our students meeting, which include A through G coursework and preparation for the SAT and ACT. The MOU also recognizes the key partners that are involved in student success, so including parents and counselors and teachers and communication with all of those people and ongoing training regarding admission requirements for college and for Azusa Pacific. Azusa Pacific, as Dr. Wallace mentioned, guarantees admission for our graduating 12th grade students who have met certain GPA requirements, SAT scores, and then APU commits to providing materials and information for enrollment and attendance, also facilitating financial aid and scholarship workshops for our students, and then that very important piece of the financial benefit for students, so a $10,000 each year for their 4-year undergraduate studies. So we're really grateful, and we know that this is a wonderful opportunity for all of our students, those that go to APU and then those that may not, but it's just a really great opportunity and will benefit everyone. Any questions?
Does the university get money from the state for this program?
No. It's a private university. We raise our own money. So no, not at all. Students get a Cal grant. That comes directly to the student and their family, not to the university.
The question I had was in the part here about continuing talking about the freshman year this year. If say a senior this year meets all the requirements and stuff, would he still be able to get the $10,000 a year, or is that?
That's a good question. I see nods coming from Azusa Pacific, so that would be a yes.
Yes, thank you and welcome to all of you, and it's great to see you here. We don't have events like this too often, so and I want to just applaud our staff and superintendent. You know, there's some other private universities in the area. There are some that seem to attract many of our administrators for getting doctorate degrees, and so I'm glad to see that we're honoring APU, you know, and TCUSD will be down the road, I guess. But this, fostering this type of connection, I think is positive in so many ways. Do have a question eventually, but I guess I just wanted to comment that, I've appreciated over the last few years, well, since I've been here, which almost coincides with Superintendent Perini's tenure, but the connections that we've made with the next steps, especially through PCC, but other avenues, other types of next steps, and I think we're really taking into account that students, might go many different directions, and we want to open as many doors as we can for them. Because this Pacific obviously is a very important educational institution in our area, and certainly, many students benefit from the character education and other additional aspects of the education. I will say, I just took a short poll of our administrators who are gathered here this evening, and at least one of them told me that she had gone to APU, and one of my daughter's 5th grade teachers had gone to APU, and so, seeing the people that come out of your university, it really does reflect well on what you're doing. So I'm excited for this, and I hope to hear more as we go on about how many students are able to take advantage of it. And my question is whether there's any type of either limit or target as far as a particular number of students each year that might be eligible.
There isn't. The university maintains pretty rigorous standard for admission, and we'll let that speak for itself. And at this point, that we haven't met that yet, so we're open for more students. Let me just also say that the School of Education is the 7th largest in the state for credentialing students, or for credentialing teachers. So it wouldn't surprise us that there are a few alum in this great school district.
Do we have to change any of our standards or anything to meet any requirements to this?
We didn't have to change anything. What we did is we just looked at what we were doing already, and we added that into the MOU. So, for example, we've mentioned our Get Focused, Stay Focused program that we offer at the 9th grade level, which helps students kind of get focused in that 9th grade year. And right, and then just other efforts as far as what our counselors will do with our students, and the parent training and things like that. So we did not change anything, just kind of looked at what we were doing and added that into them.
And Ms. Yelma has been in contact with, we also talked to Dr. Lashir to make sure that everything that we were agreeing on, and APU has been wonderful, as was indicated, to work with, that we were ensuring that we were providing the best possible agreement to meet the needs of our students. And it's probably been one of the smoother MOUs that we've had the privilege of working on.
This is basically the same as PCC, right?
It's different than PCC.
Yeah.
The Promise program is the only thing that comes anywhere close to that. The APU agreement provides our students, it's a university opportunity, so it's outstanding.
And some of the things that we will be adding will be that specific training and information and guidance as far as the admission requirements for Azusa specific. Question?
What other school districts are involved with the program? You have already?
Yeah, pretty significant number. This is the 12th school district. We started with those that are in our near vicinity, and actually, although superintendent made the call, again, this helps the program as a whole grow with academic credibility because of your academic credibility. So this is the kind of partnership we want. You'll be the 12th district that we have had this agreement with.
On page 2 here, kind of in the middle, it's referring to a clear statement of academic expectations given to the students, staff, and parents, and the community for 9th grade and each year thereafter. Assuming this is passed tonight, when will our 9th graders and the families be getting this information?
So what we would do is the next step is we would take this to our counselor team and begin the discussion process with them, and then working with the principal of the high school in working with teachers and getting that communication out to her staff as well. Then we would immediately start working on it with that group of 9th graders to inform them of this opportunity.
So will they be kind of behind the curve per se for this year?
And I wouldn't say that they would be behind, partly because the courses that we are already committed to are the rigorous academics that would meet requirements. And so our courses meet A through G requirements already. They're already in the Get Focused, Stay Focused program. And so, I wouldn't say that they were behind. It would now just be informing them of what they want to continue doing for the rest of their 3 years.
And then from next year on, will this information be provided during registration?
And we can do that, we can do a
Well, I'm just
registration. And
asking-
we'll also have materials, I know, as it's stated here, so we'll have materials that we will have available at registration, at back to school nights, in the counseling center. So, yes.
During, some students take summer school. Will the summer school classes count towards meeting their requirements for entry?
Summer school courses can definitely count, as long as it's a course that is meets one of the academic requirements. But yes, there are many that are offered.
No matter whether they take it through our summer school or some other school system, as long as it meets the requirements.
Right, then they would have to just do that official process of making sure that it was something that was transferred over to their transcript here, and that we followed that process.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to comment again, echoing my fellow board members. Wonderful opportunity as a student here. At one point in time, I never saw this, and I certainly would have taken advantage of it. And I think what a program like this does, partnering with an outstanding institution such as yours, really allows for the rest of everyone to have that opportunity, to have that confidence, more importantly, for some of them. So to say, here's something that I can really grab onto. And sometimes they get lost, as we know, some other outstanding institutions across the state and the country, but yet there is everyone else. And so I think you guys are doing them an outstanding service by giving them that opportunity, so thank you.
Thank you, and I neglected to mention that we actually have a Temple City High School alum here tonight. Rachel signed up for this duty because this is a moment of pride for her as well.
Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, all in favor of approval?
Aye.
5-0.
Esteemed photographer, are we taking a picture?
Yes.
Okay, you have that look, so, is that okay?
When will the documents be signed?
Thank you.
Like to get a picture.
Yeah, we can sign the ceremonial one tonight.
My daughter will steal this from me though, because I told her she's enrolled, so.
Older.
Yeah, we're actually gonna do you guys. We'll have whatever you tell me. I know the rules, Jerry, I know the rules.
What do you want first, sir?
Well,
Group picture?
yeah, sure.
Can I tell you what we also had? We had a special T-shirt made to put the emblem of the school district and university emblem on. Can we hold this together? Is that okay? We'll tweak this to as many as we have.
Jen, can you scooter on up here?
She actually walked today.
Yeah. It's our Dr. LaShire.
Dr. LaShire, I'm John Wallace. It's good to meet you. Yeah, thanks for being a part of this. Why don't we, here, let's, yeah. Here, how's this?
Can I Photoshop your right foot on your? I can do that. All right, here we go.
Don't.
Photoshop it.
No, I'm not gonna Photoshop it.
Go like this.
There, that's good.
Now we won't get your.
Thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, you should come up for the picture. Okay, do you want to put us in a group?
Sure. Why don't we get the board members in the back, I guess, and we'll get the APU
The rest of- all right.
to the front?
We need the alum in this picture.
Yep.
That's great. Vincent, I can't, there you go. That's better.
Me outside or inside?
Yeah, that's okay. I just want to make sure you can see Ken's face. Okay, let's try this. You take a look. You guys look good.
The ladies are just filling out this
Comes easy.
Tilt the t-shirt just, there you go.
Take my touch photo.
That's great. That's good.
Thank you.
So we're gonna see this in the start.
And then you want,
Absolutely.
I saw it in the article. I think it was
Oh, there's more?
That's actually what your alum makes sure happens. She's our communication person.
John,
Yes.
how do you want to?
I think, just the two of you, correct? What?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Did you bring a special APU pen?
We did, and they would both have the music. So if your daughter didn't want to get back, you did.
And actually, up until this point, up until.
Would you get large?
Oh, I got a large. I thought it was large.
Well, but they kind of, you don't want how much.
Perfect night.
The first go around, you don't pop that.
It's official. I was
No, yes, we did. It's like you were getting dragged out. When did we hold one of these up?
Then you're related.
What size is there?
Yeah, and well, now I'm You
And Rachel, if you guys, you said like, she may be calling you about having your copy. Okay, perfect, all right.
Small overview college workshops.
Continue on our
Just trying to highlight all this stuff.
All right, well, good times are ahead. Okay, we'll move on quickly now to item number 21. I will move to approve project assignment with Little Diversified Architectural Consulting for architectural services for the Oak Avenue Intermediate School project.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Gould. Mr. Daniel, if you would please.
So, like we discussed earlier, excuse me, this is for the complete architectural services for a new building at Oak. Like I said, we need to have some approved plans and get it into the California Department of Education in order to be eligible for state funding. So this includes the scope that we talked about in the bond presentation, the demolition of 2 buildings and replacing it with 1 2-story building and opening up the campus interior.
So the architect's gonna do a kind of like a site plan?
Yes, they would redo the site plan and that would be
And the
something.
buildings, and they come up with a building plan?
Correct.
How much of a detail on the building plans? Just a concept of a building, or?
Well, they would have to do complete plans.
No, working plans?
Yes.
How long are we looking for that part of the project to be complete?
The drawings,
The design.
since it's since we would be using a pre-manufactured building, usually they're PC approved by DSA. So we could get into DSA before the end of the year, I'm hoping. And then maybe get out of DSA by summer or fall of next year.
Of next year.
So pretty quickly, because it is a pre-manufactured building.
Real quickly in their times.
Yes, thank you. So let's see. The project focusing on the classrooms and then opening up the space certainly seems like a good idea. And my daughters have gone through Oak, and they're updating classrooms and bringing some of the updates we've seen in other sites to Oak. Certainly a good idea. Since we've had a change in principal, I imagine that both principals really had some input. Some of this talked about before.
Yeah, the former principal had a lot of input.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And obviously the staff at Oak also.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Regarding this state grant, I see that they have started selling the state bonds, but I also see that they're doing it really slowly. And that although we approved, the voters approved a certain amount, that, it may be a long time before all of that is sold. Do we have any sense whether the process, in other words, the order that they will be paid for is the same as in the past, or is the order, the way that the bond is processed, is that also sort of up for
what we're hearing is it's gonna be pretty much first come, first served. So if you're already in the queue, you will be funded first. And we've been in the queue for maybe 2 years, maybe a little over 2 years. So we're pretty far in the front of the line.
Okay, we've been in the queue for other projects. Is that? or
Yes,
for-
yes, for other projects, yes.
oh, okay. Would this
Yes.
be treated as part of that, or would this?
Well, the state bond funding would just go to reimburse the district for money that we've already spent.
Okay, I understand.
Because we didn't account for any state bond in any of our budgets.
Right, and I know when we passed Measure S, we had anticipated that some state bond funding might come to assist with that, and that's one of a couple of reasons why the amount that we've been able to do since then has been a little less than maybe had been hoped.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct, and you may also recall that that was one piece that we looked at as collectively when we took all of the state, because when it was voter approved, a lot of it had, and you'll recall Betty Hansen even came and addressed the board, and the direction that we gave to them is that we would not count any money that was not money that we were sure we were going to receive. So should this, but with that said, we still move forward with projects, because regardless, there was some opportunity, and we don't have the opportunity if we're not in line to receive any of the funding. So we're hopeful. Yesterday, they released more money than we had heard they were going to release. But we were just talking today, we still don't know, did they tell us in a few months? Did they tell us in 6 months? When I attended the superintendent's regional meeting on Friday, the discussion, we had a legislative analyst there from the state of California. She feels that because the governor wants to be seen as the education governor, even though he said he would block, they think that because he's going to start wrapping up some of his career in California, that they think that some of the money will come a bit more quickly than he wanted it to come. So, and he will take some credit for that in the sense that it supports education.
Sure. And so the amount, I mean, in the memo, it indicates that the district may be eligible for an additional, and then there's a specific amount, very specific, down to the 22 cents, 1,960,000. How was that particular number determined, based on something about us? Or?
It's a calculator that they use based on square footage and number of classrooms, size of the school. It's their calculator.
Okay. And then, I'm almost done. But then down at the end, it says budget for planning costs. That was something that we had put in a budget for phase 2 or?
There was a budget in the Series B.
Series B, that's what I meant.
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, I think, yeah, so you indicated that if the state money didn't come through for this project, then we would have to rescope or do something else.
Correct.
But the 340,000, so doing the architectural services now and getting it done and having it all ready, I certainly see it's a good idea. I'm in favor of this. But then if we were to rescope it for whatever reason, or the funding didn't come through, then there would be some modification of that. And the 340,000, it may not cover all the planning necessary. Is that right?
For this, it will. But if for some reason there is not state funding,
Yeah.
it may not cover all of it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Build it out.
Well, to build it out, but I mean, this the architectural parts. If we had to rescope for whatever reason and reduce it, then we'd end up paying more for architectural.
Come back and
costs.
redo it.
It looks to me like the architectural services that's in line with what we've paid architects in previous projects. As
Yes.
far as amount.
There is an OPSC calculator that we have every architect use. So we give them the budget and we punch it into the calculator, and it gives us their fee based on whether it's a new construction or modernization.
Oh, I see.
They're different calculators.
And this is architectural services for the planning part, but not necessarily the architect who's there when it's being done, or is that included?
Yeah, that's inclusive.
I understand. Okay.
So, and they get paid progress. So say, we find out in December we're not getting any state funding, we'll be able to, would have just paid them up until that point. So we wouldn't have paid them the entire contract.
Okay, well, we'll be hopeful, you know, that the state does come through. And again, I'm glad that, administration has prioritized Oak as well, so thank you for that.
And you may realize that it's one of those, we've had a number of discussions because it is money forward, and yet we have to take advantage of the potential opportunity. But we've also worked very carefully on trying to, for lack of a better word, squeeze out as much money as we can from every project. So contingencies, pieces like that go back in, because we know and realize that Oak does need support. And so we were just, even talking about it today, it was just interesting that was kind of an oversight in the entire process. So, but with the rescoping, we're hopeful that we can do, and it goes all the way back to when we first went and looked at you may recall when we went and looked at cargo containers. Those are still an option going forward, because more and more places, more and more school districts are using those as, and they're beautiful buildings. So all those aspects are still on the table for us to talk about with you.
Has Governor Brown come up with any new rules that he's gonna apply to the facility bond? Does that
No.
affect us at all?
No.
Okay, and the stuff at Oak was scheduled for like 10 years from now or something. Didn't we have something to do bonds, though, that it was deferred, like, it was way back in the.
Yeah, nothing was scheduled. The facilities master plan,
Scheduled like,
25 years.
yeah, 25 years.
Mhm. 25 years from the initial
So
issuance
now
of the
we're just
bonds.
moving that table up and doing basically what we said we're gonna do.
Well, we
25
can't do
years.
everything that was in the facilities
No.
master plan, but our intent we rescoped was to do something of importance for every student across the district.
These are
And
the
so-
buildings on the north side of the campus.
Yes,
correct.
The two
The
buildings.
oldest buildings.
Yes.
Sorry, final comment again. I see that we're kind of prioritizing the academic facilities at Oak and that part of it. There are other needs of campus. I think we can all agree that we're prioritizing the academics as we have done so far at the high school. I think it's a good approach.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. All right, item number 22. I will move to approve the agreement with IEC Inc. for district-wide Proposition 39 energy consulting services.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Nolenberg. I guess you're up again, Danny.
Okay, so just for a little bit of background on this item, the district is entitled to a total of $1,039,868 under the program and under specific projects that are allowed by the California Energy Commission. So these projects are mainly HVAC replacement projects and lighting projects, indoor, outdoor. So I would say 95% of the money that has been allocated to the district is just reimbursable because we've already done the project under either the new buildings at the high school or the modernizations at Cloverly, La Rosa, and Emperor. So that money basically just goes back into the pot and it can go for anything else because we've already fulfilled what the money was supposed to be used for.
And this is going back into the Measure S pot.
That's correct. It's still a separate fund, but we can use it now for whatever we want because we've already done the work.
And most of this is for conservation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. The majority was for new HVAC units throughout the district and upgraded interior lighting.
And now a lot of the lighting is actually sunlight comes through the windows, right?
Right. So there is an opportunity for an additional, $350,000. So this plan is with IEC, and they're the ones that did the initial energy expenditure plan for the district. So they have all the background, they have all the updated information on every single site. So that's why their number was the lowest, because they kind of had an advantage.
Sure.
So what they would do is just come up with some additional projects that we could do in the district to be eligible to receive that additional funding.
Who has to put in a request for the state to give us the money?
IEC does.
They'll do it for us and.
Yes, they'll do it with us. Yeah. They would come up with a list of projects that would be eligible under the program, and they would ask us, or, which of these are the priorities for the sites.
And the state has the money set aside
Yes.
so that this isn't something we gotta worry about whether the state will appropriate the funds or et cetera.
No, they've actually been paying it a little bit sooner than we were anticipating. And out of the whole entire pot of money that we were supposed to get, we have not received $50,000 of the $1,039,000.
We also heard within the last few days that there may be more money because a number of districts are not taking advantage of the opportunities because they don't have the opportunity to do what we're doing because they don't have a bond or anything else to have that money that could work to their advantage. So we're hearing that there may be more money that becomes available if other districts don't take advantage of the opportunity.
Just a general observation, and this is something that a couple other people have mentioned a long time ago, is if you have shovel-ready projects, which in a sense is the architect plans itself, you may have to wait 2 or 3 years, but sooner or later funds become available. If you don't have the shovel, if you don't have the plans available, and the money comes available, you won't have a way of getting it.
No, the Prop 39 program is a little bit different. You don't have to have shovel-ready projects because they are giving you planning money also. So they're giving you the money to get your project to where you can construct. So you don't have to have approved plans or anything.
And so the planning, the 11,500 would come from planning funds that we've received already?
Correct, yes. The first payout from the CEC was just planning fees. And anything left over from planning fees can just go straight to the projects.
Any other questions? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Okay, moving on to item 23. I will move to approve notice of completion and release of retention for A.J. Fists Corporation for the Emperor Elementary School modernization project.
Second.
Who is that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gould. Oh, I'm sorry, Bonnie Toy. Senior moments, it's almost 9 o'clock, so.
Just gray hair.
I got a smudge in my glasses, I can't see over there. Okay, so seconded by Mr. Nolenberg. Actually, I wrote down Nolenberg too, I said, anyway, moving on, Mr. Daniel.
So this project is complete and items have been verified, and it's now time to let the retention go to the contractor. We still have to wait 60 days once it's recorded with the LA County Recorder's Office to release the money.
Does the contractor we still have recourse to the contractor if something breaks or anything?
We still have warranty, yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Alrighty. Item number 24, I will move to approve our 2016-2017 unaudited actual financial reports. Second by Mr. Nolenberg.
Just a second.
Oh, please take your time.
I will be given this.
Just read through it.
Actually, we'll give it till next meeting for the test. Okay.
This might take more than a second, it would just leave. There it is.
I need to inform my babysitter I'm gonna be late.
Well, let's see if he falls.
I took one. I'm fine.
So far.
You could major in accounting or finance, and then you too can do this.
There seems like to be a lot of zeros in here.
Stay toward the front, there's less zeros. So tonight we're going to review the unaudited actuals for 16-17. As you will recall, the Board of Education is required to review and approve the unaudited actuals each year by September 15th. So the 1-inch thick pack you have is the SACS report, and that's what you're actually approving. That's the state format of how we have to, each district has to present their data to Sacramento each year. The slides, like I've done for you for a while now, are just meant to summarize to make it a little bit more digestible and a little more friendly to the user. So this is slide number 2, and what we're comparing here, reading left to right, is the budget for 16-17. In the left-hand column, the middle column is unaudited actuals, and then in the right-hand column has the variances. So I'll go through these quickly, and then in a couple more slides, I'll go through explaining the variances. So the top of the screen, this is a combination of unrestricted and restricted revenue and expenses. LCFF is the state revenue, used to be deferred revenue. There was no variance at all. Gap funding is $74,000 variance. Federal was reduced by $295,000. RRMA, which is our contribution to deferred maintenance, there's an adjustment of $527,000. Other state revenue, $66,000, and the other locals, $217,000. Down below are the expenditures. You'll see a variance of certificated salaries of $1,347,000, and employee benefits is $638,000. Books and supplies, $272,000. Other operating, $218,000, capital, $9,000, and other, $13,000. The last lines there are the net change in funds. The net change in funds takes the prior year fund balance, it adds revenue, and it reduces any expenses. You'll notice in the budget it's a negative, and that was related to carryover from the prior year. This slide talks about the reserve, and we've talked about that being sort of the balance that's left in our accounts. So the budget, again, is on the left-hand side, and unaudited actuals are on the right-hand side. Revolving cash stores stay very, very even from year to year. The designated reserve, I'll remind you that 3% is the state required reserve, and it's 3% of total expenses. And then the designated board reserve is, our board has a requirement of an additional 2%, and that was a very small variance. Again, that's based on total expenses. The legally restricted are any restricted resources, title monies, any kinds of gifts that we get, teacher effectiveness, things like that. The next line, we have a reserve for the targeted students. That money is considered unrestricted, but does have some restrictions on how you can spend it. So that's an amount that's going to be carried over into the next year. Then I have a reserve for the increase in STRS and PERS of $714. We talked about year over year, it's going up anywhere between $750,000 to $1 million a year, depending on the year, and that's a year over year increase.
But that'll stop after what, about 7 more years, 6 more years?
Yes, we have a few more years, and then we'll see what comes. They only project out so far for us. The next,
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
It's scheduled to stop, but it may not stop.
right.
May slow down, may speed up too.
I don't know, we haven't used
I think the next governor that comes into office will have a very large impact on which direction that goes. So we'll have to see what happens. The next item you see is the career technical match. You'll recall that there's a match. The state's giving us an amount of money each year for 3 years. The first year we needed to match 1-to-1, second year 1.5 to 1, and third year 2 to 1. So we have some money remaining there to be budgeted. We'll be working with Sarah closely on the high school on some good uses for those funds. The next line item is one-time funding, and we should get some more one-time funding into 17-18, but this is from prior. Another special grant we have is educator effectiveness, and we'll have $431,000 of carryover for that restricted money into 17-18. Year over year, the board has been putting $250,000 aside for OPEB. That's what's described there. And then the last line is the unallocated reserve. This slide just shows the split by percentage of where our funds are coming from, and you'll see that 82% is from the state, which is our primary source of funds. This next graph is showing how our expenses are split up. 82% of all of our budget money is going to staff, and that would be salaries and benefits. So slide 6 is a comparison of the budget versus unaudited, and I'm splitting it now between the unrestricted funds and the restricted funds. So the first item where you see a variance is LCFF, and that's strictly related to gap funding. The first number the governor gave us was 54% gap funding, and then toward the middle of June, they switched to 56.07%, which is a good thing. We got an extra $74,000, so we'll take it. Not a huge difference, but that's what that's made up of. The change for the RRMA is lower because our expenses were lower than projected, so that impacts the amount that we put into deferred maintenance. As you'll recall, we do 3% of total expenses. The next item is other state, and that's about $50,000, and we got a little bit more unrestricted lottery money than was expected. They gave us a slightly higher per capita or per ADA amount in June. Contributions to special ed were $338,000 less than expected from our projections from the budget. And other local is primarily lower because we should have had $441,000 of E-rate money come in this year. It's expected, but it didn't come this year, so we're still hoping it will come in 17-18. I mean, it will come, but we just don't know exactly when it's coming.
This is to support the internet?
Pardon me?
This is to support the internet?
It's money that we get back, like an education reduced rate related to all the technology infrastructure that was put in. They tell you that you're going to get it, but they don't tell you quite when it's going to come. So far, we've received $200. We have quite a bit still to come.
And we've done the work. We did the project.
Andy Harper did a beautiful job providing everything to them. It's another government activity that you're sort of in line, and you just need to wait your turn until they give it to you.
Has Congress approved, it is federal money. You agree?
The money's been approved, the amount that we're going to get is approved, it's just the machinations of actually having the money sent to you. And they do a direct deposit, so we don't even get a check in the mail, it pops up in our account. But like I said, only 200 so far.
So one morning, just like,
Right? Happy dance on the 3rd floor.
there you go.
Okay, and then the next item, as we move down, are the expenses. Salaries and benefits are less by $1,683,000, which is about 2% of the budget. Books and supplies were lower by about $300,000. It's 0.01% variance, primarily related to $40,000 of unrestricted lottery that wasn't spent. By the sites, about $63,000 of targeted money that wasn't spent at the sites. Some CTE match, and some unrestricted that wasn't spent at the sites. When we move down to services and operating, you'll see that's reduced by $800,000, which is a 1.4% variance over budget. That's primarily related to $283,000 of one-time money that had been budgeted but wasn't spent that we'll review for next year's budget. There was $88,000 of STEAM money that was in the budget that wasn't spent this year. Mr. Nolenberg, you'll be very happy to hear that there was a reduction in telephone by $150,000 related to Andy's Good Works. That was a nice savings. And we had a little savings in legal expenses this year over last year. I mean, over our budget expectation. So slide 7 is the same slide. We're just comparing now restricted revenue and restricted expenses. Federal revenue was reduced by $294,000. So I want to talk about this just a little bit one more time. Federal money is handled differently from an accounting perspective compared to state money. So if you're given state money and it comes in the door, you have revenue. If you're expecting to get it, you can still book it as revenue. Slightly different object code, but you can still recognize it. With federal money, if it hasn't actually made it into your door, you can't recognize it. So you have to reduce your revenue in this year, and then you have to book the revenue in the following year. So although it's been guaranteed to you and it's coming, you have to reduce your revenue. It's just this federal requirement for accounting purposes.
And this is when we have to go borrow money?
I'm sorry?
This is when we have to go borrow money, right?
No, I'm
If
not.
we don't get the federal funds, even though they're promised, and we don't get the federal funds, and we still got bills to pay.
So you should be very proud that you have a very nice, healthy cash balance. The only time we've had to borrow money in this district was about 3 or 4 years ago, and that was related to state funding. So the state gave us a guarantee of money, which again, we could recognize as revenue, but the cash never came in the door. And it was delayed up to a year. So we did trans. We did 4 or 5 trans where we borrowed money and then paid it back. But that wasn't related to federal money, just state.
Can I ask a question?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, maybe you said this already, but, so in the unrestricted, when I see contribution to special education, that's one amount, and then the same amount was reduced from the revenues for restricted funds. So we're accounting for the funds differently. We're getting what we had expected regarding special education in general.
I'm gonna have to check that for you. I think that looks like a clerical mistake.
Oh, okay.
Because I apologize for that. Special ed would only be in the restricted section.
Would only be the restricted?
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's all restricted federal money.
Okay, and as far as the amount that we're paying out for special education, I know that varies every year. At some point, maybe this would be a future information item, but as far as the change in, what we are paying for special education compared to what we budgeted, might be helpful to consider.
Sure. And then you may want to keep in mind that with special education, there's a maintenance of effort requirement. So year over year, you have to spend $1 more than you spent the prior year. Now, let's say we suddenly had something like, let's say we had 30 kids in a non-public school, and they were all 21 years old. So next year, all that expense would go away. That's an explainable reason for a decrease. So if you had a large program change, maybe one of the programs that we handle is now handled by another school district, or all the kids in NPSs are back in our school district, something like that. You can explain those kinds of changes, and then there's not an issue if you have a reduction. But generally speaking, if you have the same types of students and the same programs, you have to spend $1 more than you spent the year before. Federal requirement.
Yeah.
Also, you'll want to keep in mind that what they require from us, they only fund 35% of what they require us to do. So that difference has to come from the general fund unrestricted monies.
Yes. Thank you. And maybe you've already touched this, I'm sorry.
No worries.
But the changes in the amount spent for salaries and benefits, the difference in what was actually spent versus what had been budgeted.
So there are a couple items that contribute to that in a combination. We were able this year, we analyzed who our staff were. Ed Services was a great help to me on this, and what duties they perform site by site. And some of their functions could actually be paid out of restricted monies. So we were able to shift those staff salaries over to restricted, like Title I, Title II, Title III, for instance, and that freed up some unrestricted money. The other thing is, as we do our planning for our budget, we assume that we're fully staffed. And we had a lot of openings this year, both in certificated and classified. And when you have those openings, someone retires today, the new person doesn't come in right away. So sometimes there's a gap in time, and so there's some salary savings, but we budget assume we're 100% staffed. Sorry? Okay.
And sometimes it's the amount too, because as we have people who retire, who are at the bottom of our salary schedule, we've already budgeted for them. As they leave, we replace them with people who are at the top of our salary schedule, so we actually realize a little bit of the savings.
And then the money that you saw there for, the money that was there, about 600,000 is related to benefits for those salaries. Just keep in mind that benefits are 32% when you take the statutory, it's not just health and welfare, it's all the statutory, STRS, PERS, all the state and federal taxes. So that's, on top of those salaries. Now that's where that dollar comes from. Okay, sorry, I'm at the end. Any other questions?
Just a general one on the LCFF funding. Has the state put any more requirements where they don't send money, but just, like the thing we did at the last board meeting about suicides? They expected us to just eat that cost, in a sense. Are they gonna start adding each year, gonna start adding more and more, so that pretty soon we have back to the old method of restrictions on money, on spending, or do we have an insight on it?
There's sort of a couple of questions I think embedded in there. So one is the LCFF calculation is in statute, state law, how that's calculated. So there won't be a change in that till after 2021. As far as the state having additional requirements for us that they don't give funding to, that's part of our business. We don't have a lot of say in that. We do get some recovery of costs from the mandated cost money that we get back, but it's generally not enough to cover what they're mandating that we do. After 2021, I don't know what the new funding model will be. They may go back to a categorical model, they may stay, they may extend LCFF, we really just don't know at this point.
Any other questions? All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. All right, moving on. I move to adopt resolution 1718-02 approving GAN limit for 2017-18.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nolenberg. You want to add anything to this? Sure.
Sure, you may recall that the state requires us to do this calculation of the GAN limit each year and bring it to the board as part of our unaudited package. If you look in your SACS report, this form number is GANN, and the calculation is attached for your reference. The GAN limit was part of Prop 4, and it was approved in 1979. So the calculation is state mandated, and this is just showing that we are complying.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Mrs. Jones, if you would, please.
Member Bell?
Yes.
Member Gould?
Yes.
Member Marston?
Yes.
Member Nolenberg?
Yes.
And Member Pomeroy?
Yes.
All right. Moving on, item 26. I will move to approve the opening of the public hearing for 2017, 2018 Reserve for Economic Uncertainties.
Second.
REU.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nolenberg. All in favor? Aye. We are now in public meeting. Mr. Rowe?
So you will recall there has been a lot of discussion in Sacramento regarding reserve caps. There's been discussion that if a reserve gets above a certain percentage in the school district, that money will be taken back from the state. There's a lot of arguing going on about that, thank goodness. It's sort of penalizing those districts that are fiscally responsible. There is a Senate Bill 751 that moved through the House today, which is a positive thing that will, we don't have all the details on it, but it looks like it's going the right direction to get rid of that reserve cap. However, we are required by Ed Code to bring an explanation of anything that our reserve might be used for that's in excess of the reserve cap that is set right now. And that's what this is. So we have to tell the county and the state why we're reserving more than our 5%. And actually, it's more than the 3% state requirement. So that's what's detailed on the second page. We talk about flexibility for unexpected expenditures, one-time outlays, volatile state revenues, and the ability to use our own cash rather than having to borrow money. Also, it's protection against declining enrollment. Our district isn't facing much of that, but many districts in our area are.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's any questions from the audience, any issues they wish to bring up, you're free to do that. Any board, cabinet, any, open to everybody. John?
So regarding the declining enrollment, I note that in some districts, Duarte Unified, for example, they've experienced a long period of declining enrollment in large part because as school-aged children are no longer school-aged, people's residents stay living there, and so school-aged children are not moving in because people are sort of staying in their homes. And so there's less turnover in their homes. And in our area, it looks like there's some new housing going up, and I see new families moving in. And so, but during our time on the board, it seems that we've been staying pretty steady, maybe anticipating possible growth and having maybe small growth, but basically staying pretty steady. So I'm not asking for a crystal ball or anything, but I guess it's really just more of a comment that declining enrollment is always a possibility. Again, given what we see in some areas, the effect of declining enrollment in Duarte, for example, I know it's had far-reaching financial consequences. Glad to see that we have new people wanting to come into our district. I hear it all the time. They moved here for our schools. And so it's really, it says a lot about our leadership in the administration. But I'm glad to see that we're cognizant of the fact that enrollment could fluctuate. And I believe actually in the last 10 years, the last time we saw history, that there had been a period where it went down a bit related to the recession. So I just registering a concern about that going forward. I appreciate you laying all this out, and I meant to say earlier also, Ms. Sorrell, I appreciate very much all the information about the unaudited actuals. I don't want to violate the Brown Act and keep talking about that, because we approved that already. I can't do that. So, thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, I will move to close the public hearing for the 2017-18 Reserve for Economic Uncertainties.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nolenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. Routine items approved by one motion and one vote unless a member of the board or audience requests that any items be reviewed and voted upon separately. Is there any such request?
Just item 28, just clarification right here.
Do you wish to have it removed and voted on separately, or just go ahead and clarify?
Just to clarify, on the last page, page 7, it says that I would like to see more data on financial usage net cost of facilities for each site.
For each site.
And I don't know, is this supposed to be something that's going to be on a board agenda item then? Or is it just a comment that we made that just goes nowhere?
I'm sorry. Does it reflect what you said at the meeting? I mean, that the agenda is, obviously the minutes are just to reflect whatever you said. Does that reflect what you said?
Basically. But I phrased it in such a way, I thought it was an agenda, proposed agenda.
If I can clarify, when we did the facility usage, the agreement was that we would bring back to the board periodic updates. So that is part of what Ms. Sorrell has on an ongoing basis on there. So I'm not sure if that clarifies what you're asking, but it will come back to the board as an update.
And then on 31, I got a couple of quick questions. On the contracts, the one for inspection and maintenance services for the boiler at the high school, is that the, I thought we got rid of that boiler.
No, we still have a boiler chiller in high school.
I mean, but that, so we still have to have a private contractor come out and look at it?
Yes.
And then also on the camera security system upgrades, what are we doing with the cameras? That's the very last one on the first page 1-3.
So the board is probably aware that the cameras that we have in all sites are quite old. And if we go back to the security film to try and review something, if an incident occurs, the quality is very poor. So this is to replace all existing cameras. We'll be working with each site administrator if they want to change any placement of those cameras. And then as a second phase, if we need additional cameras, we'll come back to you with that. But this is to replace those. It also includes a replacement of the software. So anyone who has authorization can look at security cameras on their telephone. They can look from home. If an incident occurs, we can immediately look and identify what's happening. Also, if we get, we can check for a false alarm. If something goes off, we can check the cameras.
So we're going to eventually have a maintenance contract with the people who install the cameras?
We already have a maintenance contract with San Marino. This particular contract is just replacement of equipment and software.
So they're going to supply the equipment, or are we going to buy that? So
This includes the purchase of the equipment.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Pomeroy. Mrs. Jones?
Member Bell?
Yes.
Member Gould?
Yes.
Member Marston?
Yes.
Member Nolenberg?
Yes.
Member Pomeroy?
Yes.
Okay. Board member comments. Mr. Gould? Okay. Mr. Nolenberg?
Yes, I'd like to see how we get an item on the agenda.
Okay.
And then also just a general one, the city, Temple City's got a master plan that's going to be sent out to all the stakeholders pretty soon for review. And I assume we, as the largest employer of this, will get a copy and the client will respond in writing. I'm just wondering if that's something the board should be aware of. And that, what our relationship with the master plan of the city is, whether it affects us or not, I don't know.
Mr. Bell?
I do not have anything this evening.
Mr. Pomeroy?
No, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'll echo what Ken's statement was about the item on the agenda. I think Mr. Pomeroy brought that up a couple meetings ago, and I know that you're working on putting things on for us, so we'll be excited to see that was one of them. Okay, so looks like it's a wrap. I will move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gould.